Hey, how we doing? It's JJ. So it's probably not going to be the most stable of videos or quietest as we just walk over that old bridge out into the countryside. And what I've decided to do today is rather than drive for like 10-12 minutes in a pickup truck down to the yard to help Jane with a horse, I've decided to walk, which will probably take me about an hour and a quarter. And I'm going to retrace old paths that I've used and known since I was about 8-9 years old. And we're in a new house now, back in the childhood area that I grew up. And the funny thing is, I've walked past two of my old houses that I grew up in with mum and my stepdad and my dad to a certain degree when I was 8 or 9. And I've walked down a few streets and I've seen that trees have gone. Trees that I grew up with as a kid, used to go and climb and throw a rope swing over. Now they've gone and created more spaces for cars to park, as naturally happens. It's a natural way of things, and I suppose. But I've also walked past my old pub that my mum used to run and that I used to also work in a few times. And the beauty of it is, just outside the pub is this sort of like square concrete sort of block where they tried to put plants to sort of grow to make the little neighbourhood look nice, and it never really lasted because the kids would just come and kick them all about. But what was growing there now is a gorse bush. Never seen a gorse bush in Chels, and that's absolutely brilliant. Just trod in a horse poo, never mind. Yeah, so gorse bush was there, and I absolutely love gorse bushes, and the flowers are all out and it's lovely. And I've just stepped over the bridge, across the road, and I'm now going down a little sort of country track that I've known for a long time. And I've walked this hundreds and hundreds of times, and sometimes that's what you've got to do, is you've got to go and retrace the journeys that you took when you were younger, and because they ultimately led you on a journey to where you are today. So I'm going to crack on with my walk. We'll catch you in a bit, because this walk down to Walken brings back a lot of memories. It's an area that I've known most of my life, so I'm going to crack on. We'll catch you in a little bit. See that tree there? That oak tree with a yellow sign on it? That's just a surveillance sign to let people know that surveillance is done in this area, because you're in the countryside. And this is the Long Lane, the old part of Long Lane. And we used to walk over that old sort of bridge down this sort of track when we were a kid. I used to come down to the pub here. But this oak tree here, I've known all my life, absolutely all my life, and it's still in reasonable health, and that's good to see. Still good to see. Love that tree. Seeing this field behind me, just over there, end of the 70s into the 80s, there used to be an airframe of a Westland Scout helicopter. Didn't have the rotors, didn't have all the seats and that in, they'd all been taken out, but the guy who owned the house next to it, for some reason he decided to buy this old airframe of a Westland Scout helicopter. And every time I used to come down here, I used to jump over this fence and I'd go and have a play in it. And the amount of times that he told me to get out of my field, get off of that, you'll do yourself damage, I never really listened. But eventually over time he just used to like pop his head out from his house and see it was me and just let me get on with it. And I've always had a fascination with aircraft and helicopters, which is quite ironic as an aircraft goes over the top. And yeah, that old airframe's long since gone, and which is a shame because there's not many of them about nowadays. But nowadays what people do is they decide to dump fridges and freezers and ovens and that instead, and that, which is just a sign of the times and the people with a lack of respect, which is something that we didn't really have when we grew up, because we were taught the countryside code. True story, bro. See this wood here? This is just at the back of the the Crown down Aston End. And I'm going to name places in this video because I'm not doing anything wrong. But this is just off Holders Lane across a horse field. This wood here is where my journey all began. This wood and my old permission wood, which is literally about half a mile over that way across a couple of fields, high wood. This wood and that wood is literally where my journey began as a naturalist, someone who loves nature and the outdoors, someone who camps. My woodsman journey, my bushcraft journey sort of started in this wood and that other wood. And I only ever sort of walk through this wood once every couple of years, but every time that I sort of come through here, it always reminds me of how, not only how far I've come, but the journey it took to get here. I used to just like disappear and come over here and make up a little den and grab one of my old crappy tents that I had in the cadets when I was in my teens, and then we started using the bigger wood over that way. And most of you know that journey, the process of that wood, and we're leaving that wood behind for a good reason, but that's a video for another time. But this wood is where it all began. This wood, coming in here, sitting here, watching the jackdaws and the rooks and the crows come in to roost, sitting there watching woodpeckers going away in the trees, spotting nuthatches and tree creepers. Just sit here, sitting on the edge of the wood, watching out, is where it all began for me. And this is a really special wood. And as we walk on further, there's other places that hold memories that also tell a story of how I got to this point in my life. Can you see that wood in the distance where the pine trees are on the back, and there's the grey cloud sitting above it? I've got this zoomed in so you can see it, 'cause it's a good half a mile away. But that is the wood. That is the wood that I've used for the last few years, and it is an integral part of who I am and where I've come from. And obviously my family grew up in this area, so it's massively important to me. And I've had good times and bad times happen in that wood, and it's time to move on from that, because things happen in that wood that I'm just not happy with. You know, the management, people that use it and leave it in a state, and it's not a place that I want to be, but it'll still always hold a very special place for me. I'm going to probably go there maybe once again just to see the bluebells in their full colourful spectacle. But that over there, I've spent so many times hiding away, seeking solace and not really getting comfort, but in the last couple of years I have, and it is still always going to be a special place to me. But we've got new places to explore, new places to stay. See all these fields and these tracks and these trails that are behind me. Well, I used to walk all of these most of the time by myself, sometimes with a mate or two when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. Most people wouldn't let their kids do that nowadays, which is a bloody shame. It's a crying shame. And you know, it's not that it's any less dangerous than what it used to be for kids, it's just that people are more aware of the dangers. Social advancements in technology for keeping an eye on where your kids were. The only way that my parents ever knew where I was is when I got to a relative or something, because my family all grew up around the villages around here, and I get up to my nan and my granddad's, and my mum would have rung to say, "Is Justin there?" And my nan would go, "Yep." She'd go, "Right, as long as we know where we are." Times change, people move on, but sometimes that instinct in you just to get out and walk can't be denied. Can't be denied. The tracks are still here. I'm a little bit older. I'm not sure if I'm a little bit wiser, but I still have that love for the outdoors. Oh yeah. That's it. This is the end of my journey. I'm just about to come up to the horse yard, and there'll be other people there, and they might not want to be on camera. But this is a journey that's taken me back, and I've retraced old footsteps, familiar paths, that haven't really changed. I haven't really changed. A few more grey hairs, a few more wrinkles and lines on my face. But the essential essence of me, the being of me, the truest version of me is outdoors. So go and find those old tracks, retrace the steps you once trod, get out there, continue your journey. Thanks for tuning in, we'll catch up again soon. P.S. All journeys have a purpose. You might not know it, but they always do. Mine today was to shovel shit.